Hello, my beautiful friends. So we're going to do something a little different tonight. I wanted to think about my ancestors. I do a lot of ancestor veneration and connect with my, I've done my DNA on Ancestry.com. I've done my DNA with 23andMe, and I've processed my DNA through some university sites because I'm a nerd like that. And I was just interested in, I'm not a math person. That's why I majored in English. I mean, to make you take math, and grad school I had to take stats, which, you don't use so much when you're studying, Emerson. But for the purposes of this video, math is important. So I wanted to know, how big is my family tree, right? So I Googled that, and this guy did this work here. And so if you go back 17 generations, he had gone back 15 generations, because, your parents, you have two parents, each of your parents has two parents, right? You go back that way. So 17 generation would mean that you have 262,142 grandparents. And then he did the reverse thing, and he said, okay, let's start at the back and go forward. How many descendants could there be if we use 3 as the average number of children? And I mean, how many people is that? And you think about your family tree and your ancestors, and it's filled with all kinds of people. It's filled with successful people. It's filled with people who made stupid decisions. It's made from people who may have done bad things, people who have done good things, right? So we really only can connect really well to, I think the past 5 generations. Your grandparents, maybe your great-grandparents, maybe their parents, that's, people usually have a good hold on that. And then after that's a little fuzzy unless somebody's dug deep, right? So I'm looking at my own family, and on my mother's side. Fortunately, my cousin's husband did an amazing job on the Ritter side. But on my mom's side, I'm fortunate that the British kept excellent records, baptismal records, so I can go back pretty far. And I know that way far back, a great-grandfather had been a lawyer, and then another grandfather, after that, became a glass, a window glass person, and then they became, the working class. And then when my great-grandfather, his first wife died in childbirth, he had 14 kids, and he had another 4 with my great-grandmother, who was 20 years younger than him. When he died, her mother was dead. She had nowhere to go. She had no money, so they were going to put her in a poorhouse. And my grandmother and my aunt and uncle. And so her stepson helped her come to the U.S. So that's how we got here in the 1920s. And it's just fascinating when you think about ancestors and who that is. And in reality, we're all related, right? Because when you go back, those numbers are huge, right? So that the likelihood that you're related by marriage or cousin or something to your neighbor is pretty great. And I just thought that was so fascinating. The math was so fascinating. So I wanted to pull some runes tonight about ancestors and asking a wise ancestor to step forward to give us a message. Now, I've talked about this before. I don't know that I believe that we have the ability to necessarily heal ancestral trauma, because I don't really know if I believe in ancestral trauma. I believe we have trauma. I don't know that it's ancestral. It might be societal. Where are my runes? This is my rune bag that I keep my cards in. I'm going to have to pause for a minute because I'm not sure where my runes are. You all don't want to see me looking all over my table. Or maybe you do. Oh, here they are. Here they are. Alright. So let's take out our stones. We have our Green Man stone. And we have our Iona stone. We have all the different stones. We have our Bridget cross. I feel like we all adopt something. Alicia. We all adopt sort of the ancestral path, I think, that most calls to us. So, even though I'm German and Polish and Romanian and everything on my biological father's side, I wasn't raised by my biological father. I was raised by my father, and he was German. So I feel like I have that sort of German part in me. But the side that my family celebrated and honored was the Celtic side, the English side, and the Scottish side. So that feels to me like the side that I'm more drawn to, and the one that I'm always looking for a wise elder. When I do meditations, I go one of two places. I either go up into like a rock outcroft, and I sit with a figure that I call great grandmother, and then we look out over the ocean, and then or I go down to a big like campfire kind of thing, and I sit with great grandfather, and seek wisdom. So let's get a message from our ancestors, from a wise ancestor on the other side. What should we do to, learn more or connect with? What should we think about when we connect with our ancestors? That's our specific question. All right, they're stuck in my hand. Thurzaz. I'm not sure what that means in terms of the question. I think Thurzaz is all about being stuck, right? So maybe don't get stuck. Let's just read the words, shall we? Let's read the words. Reaction, conflict, catharsis, regeneration, will of destiny, rune of the giants, disputes, arguments, disagreement, chaos, destruction, offense, breaking, resistance, mind, body, and spirit, be ready to defend, Thor's hammer, thunder and lightning, protection of wild rage, know your limits, certain boundaries are not meant to be broken, don't make hasty decisions, who around you brings risk. There's no inverted position. Not sure what this has to do with ancestors, except that maybe to just be mindful that it's not always been a peaceful path for your ancestors, right? There have been times of conflict, there's been times of war. You might be a, generational product of some kind of ill will, that could be recent and you're aware of it, or it could be deep in your path. So, like whatever thorns that are there, it's up to you whether you want to know them and discover them, or just accept that they exist and move on. But let's see what the cards say. Ask our wise ancestor to shed more light on this stone. What is the Thurzaz stone mean in reference to our ancestors? 3 shuffles. That's 1. 2. And 3. I only feel called to read this deck tonight, too. Alright, 3 paths of spirit to go with to help clarify the Thurzaz stone in relation to our ancestors. Pass 1. Pass 2. Okay, 2 came out together. We had the Green Man and Gwyneth, Mother, Nurture, and Present, and Nature, Connection, and Source. I'm going to pause for just a second and think about these and see what Spirit says to me. I'll be right back. So, the sense that I get is that we often have a very doughy-eyed view of our ancestors, especially those of us who engage in ancestor veneration. And we need to be mindful that it hasn't been a peaceful path for each of those couplings over time. So we should be realistic, and we should pull out the thorns of blindness and accept that these were humans who lived through all kinds of, trials and errors. They've made good and bad decisions, and we should be realistic. And so, veneration is great, but we want to make sure that we stay connected with the source, whoever your higher power is, and nature, right? And that all of these things are in balance together, right? Nature, the green man and Gwyneth, the mother, nurture present. She's like holding the world, and green man is all about energy and nature, and that we should do our work here with the people who are living, nurturing the earth, nurturing each other. And while it's important to remember our ancestors, we should work among the living. That's the sense that I'm getting. So I am going to journal about that now and think about what that means. And I am wishing you all the best in light and love. Be well. Take care. Bye-bye.